Is AI going to take my job, or is it going to help create jobs?
I've built over 368 AI tools. I just won a contract with London South Bank University.
The large majority of young people, particularly in our community, are either late diagnosed, misdiagnosed, or not diagnosed at all. I'm actually going to change the whole system by actually creating a company that creates a tech solution that actually does it.
We are at the beginning of the exponential curve, which means we are one of the greatest opportunities in history, but also it can be scary.
My panel is all about all things AI. So I've got some amazing people that most of them I've actually worked with before. So super excited to bring them to the stage. So first of all, please can we have Mr. Andre Skeppel to the stage, please? And then next, please can I have Mr. Ali Mohammed to the stage, please? Thank you very much. Give him a round of applause. And then last but not least, please can I have Katrina Young. I'm butchering all the names today. I need AI to help me. Okay, well, so last but not least, there's a guy called Michael Harding. That's me. I'm just going to get the amazing speakers some microphones. Bear with me a second. The big thing that everybody's scared about. Let's just address this big elephant in the middle of the room, right? The elephant in the middle of the car park. Is AI going to take my job, or is it going to help create jobs? Well,
I think everyone needs to ask themselves a question right now. What is their knowledge base when it comes to AI? And can they find a clear use case? If you can find a clear use case, if you can find a problem and a solution, it's all business at the end of the day. But this technology is the same as when the internet came into introduction or social media, it changed the landscape. But I'm talking specifically in terms of adoption. It's massively adopted. But in terms to your question, is it going to take your job? It's going to create jobs and it's going to remove jobs. So double-edged sword.
I was going to say, I want to make sure that we use language that people can go away and do today.
100%.
So you said business, I'm talking about normal people, because everyone can use AI right now. So I use AI, I've replaced my teams. Okay. I use it for application forms. I've built over 368 AI tools.
Wow.
So I use it within everything. I just won a contract with London South Bank University to do a research grant with them.
Woo.
I partner with Amazon, Microsoft, and all of it. I'm really bloody hot. But anyway, my point is that normal people can leverage AI to get big. So don't worry about all the jargon and all the terms. Use AI, publish, and adopt. So
love it. And
Back
Andre?
to Fanning. Whew.
There's a saying that goes around on social media. AI won't replace your job. It's people who know how to harness and extend their capabilities with AI that replace your job.
Wow. Okay, so that's the elephant addressed. Let's now actually find out who these amazing people are, where they come from, what they do. So Andre, do you want to start?
Sure. So I'm Andre Skeppel. I'm the founder of a company called Full Spectrum. I founded a company back in 2018 as pretty much a middle finger up to the education system. Essentially, I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic. I was diagnosed quite late. I was 22, late in my second year university. And upon that realization, that's when I realized that there's a large majority of young people, particularly in our community, that are either late diagnosed, misdiagnosed, or not diagnosed at all. In addition to that, there's so many issues in the schooling system that we have young people, particularly in our community, that are neurodivergent, where teachers don't know how to work with them based on their culture, but mainly based on terms of their learning attributes and how their mind works and how they can communicate, how they can retrieve, process information. Essentially, the curriculum, as we all know, is very fragmented, is very antiquated, and it requires significant reform. Now, I could do it as a teacher, as a mentor, as someone in the coalface and the grassroots, working with young people. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to change the whole system by actually creating a company that creates a tech solution that actually does it. Now, when I first founded the company, this was before generative AI was really a thing. The approach was building individual systems that could create the reports and the education health and care plans that are used by schools, by local authorities to manage special educational needs. And to kind of use that and then to use natural language and programming, basically it's a technique where you take words and syntaxes of what you write and that turns into machine code. Machines can use and to understand, to process a function. That was the original approach to build systems that can gather the information and we'll build our own AI. But then when Gen AI came in, ever since ChatGPT kind of exploded in October 2022, that's really changed our business model. So a year ago, we liquidated our company. We bought it back for 5K. We built it back from scratch. My business partner is one of the top 5 AI experts in the world. So just to explain in terms of the levels of what we're dealing with, and I'll explain the technology in a moment. So my business partner studied AI as a degree and a master's in Edinburgh University. It was one of 3 universities at the time in the world that did AI as a degree. He then worked with Nintendo for 2 years. Then from Nintendo, he founded a company called DMA Design. He then became the original designer of Grand Theft Auto. Then actually worked at a computer-generated TV channel that was then acquired by Telewest, then Virgin Media. Then went and worked in the Navy, the big boats. Then worked for the Prime Minister, who was leading Operation Trident, which was the nuclear targeting system. So he was in charge of the button. Then worked for a number of different companies for different banks and VCs across the world. He was the last CEO of a company called Friends Reunited and closed it down because of Facebook, and retired, and then met me. I took him out of retirement. Now he's my business partner, my chairman, and my mentor. When I met him 2 years ago, he gave me the advice to close down the previous version of Full Spectrum, to liquidate it, and then to buy it back for cheap and build it again, because he said, this technology is about to blow. What you wanted to achieve in 5 years, we can do it in 8 months. So let's do this again. And basically, he taught me a new variant of AI called agentic AI. Basically, what agentic is multiple AI agents. So you've got different AI agents have different structured
Okay, I'm gonna have to
functions.
pause you there because I think it's a slightly bit complicated for the audience now. You're going like it's a little bit too techie for the audience. You can see their faces going, what? An agent? What? Agent Smith? What's he doing here?
It's AI has come now. AIs can be trained to have their own individual functions. So think of like having a workforce. Each AI has its own structure, personality, objective, and they can work independently, but also work as a community. So in our platform now, what we're building is a multi-AI platform that has multiple AIs that do different functions. So one does the planning, one does the assessments, one does the communications, one does the interventions. Also, the breakthrough that we had is we've got AIs that can create other AIs.
Amazing.
So we're using technology.
Let's go on to Ali. I know all about you, but the audience don't.
My name is Ali Mohammed. I have an educational background in delivering AI workshops, giving people practical skills and clarifying use case. Because one thing when it comes to AI is about the data which the model is trained on. And when you talk about multimodal, what Andre was mentioning, what his company does is a functionality of multimodal, multi-layered. So different AI systems, like he said, interacting with each other. And like I said, my background is in AI deploying systems and providing people with educational materials and all this complex jargon when it comes to deep learning, machine learning, NLP, giving you practical applications for the technology to make it tangible and realistic, and understanding the fundamental principles where we are now and where we're heading towards. We are at the beginning of the exponential curve, which means we are one of the greatest opportunities in history, but also it can be scary, and giving people that reassurance.
Okay, so I want to ask you, can you give the audience a piece of homework to do after this panel or when they go home?
You may have heard of prompt engineering. Yes, input determines output. When it comes to Gen AI, the better your input, the better the output. So a piece of homework that you can do is access Claude, which is a LLM, which is by a company called Anthropic. Look into Claude, but specifically look into their prompt engineering guidelines. There's extensive resources that can give you techniques and tools in how to get better output because of the cleaner your input is.
Okay, so
I'm going to go a step closer.
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, so my name is Katrina Young. I started out with a marketing agency. I retrained as a software engineer. I'm a CTO. So I have a technology company. As I said, we expand. We look at AI enablement, emerging technology, adoption. We just want to help normal folk make money. I still got a consultancy. I deal with digital transformation. I've recently got my ecosystem going green. That's where the world's going. We need to wake up, by the way, people. So we need to understand there are trends happening and we need to do it. So like what Ali said, that's brilliant. But people kind of still, I think, don't understand the knowledge is still technical. So prompt engineering is an instruction. So you go to Claude and you say, I tell you what I did. I had a client that was struggling and I told her to use AI for the week to assist her with everything she did. So we built a tax assistant AI. I said, I don't want you to do anything. Don't overthink it. Create an AI for everything. That's what you do. You give it an instruction. So I say, I'm a mum. I run multiple businesses. I want you to be my assistant. Tell me, how should I structure my day? How should I structure my diary? I want you to make sure that it is UK friendly for UK law. It should be compliant and governed by this particular region or territory. Break it down in the spreadsheet with a checklist action list. That's the kind of instruction that gives it concise output.
Okay, I like it.
I just want to add one last thing onto that. That is 100% correct. the last thing you need to do is ask it to ask you questions for the
clarify.
follow-up, to clarify, give it
Yeah.
context. So role, information, context, and fact check.
Okay. So my final question, because this is a two-part one, and we got Dexter coming in straight after with the other two AI experts. AI, two-part question. Does it lie? And more specifically, does it lie about black people?
It lies about everything. So I've written an article called AI Hallucinations. Funny enough, I was just hired by a company to talk about AI lying. So I do something called soft skills for AI, which looks at it being humanistic. So ask AI, as Ali said, is this true? And it will say, I'm sorry. So that's what you want to do. You want to validate the information. So what I tend to do is I ask it to ensure that it's correct. And now I ask it to provide a source of reference. So you're right. It does have hallucinations. And I partner with AWS. AWS have got one of the biggest systems, and they know here's the thing, if you want to find research and data for your projects, work with the bigger companies. They're putting millions behind this research. So it does lie, it hallucinates. Okay.
One thing when it comes to models, specifically in terms of race and bias, is the data sets in which the model is trained. So the information that it processes determines its output. And what ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all of them are mimic technologies. They're simply guessing what word is going to come next. So based on all the data which is trained on,
And the people building them.
and the people building the
That's why
systems,
we
they're
need
embedded
more brown
bias.
people.
But the data in itself, if you look at the internet, the majority of the internet is biased one way or the other. We are human beings, we're flawed creatures, we have our embedded biases. But this is perpetuated, this is replicated in the data which the model is trained on. So if the people who are building these systems have biases, then the systems themselves will replicate this bias. That's why there's much more of a need of people who look like us, who actually speak like us, to actually input the data which train these models to actually correct themselves. And yeah.
So it's kind of like to kind of platform what you guys have said from my experiences and the work that we're doing. So we've recently agreed in principle to partner with OpenAI, which is the largest AI company in the world. And one of the conversations that we had with them, essentially, they say they know they're not the master of knowledge of everything. And so they are aware that in terms of the large language models that built up ChatGPT, ChatGPT 4.0, and everything they're developing, it's only based on information that has been gathered from limited perspectives of the engineers that work with them. So they're very aware that there are elements of bias, there are elements in terms of the type of responses that you want are limited to the people who engineer it, and they are very aware that the engineering scope is very whitewashed. So one of the key things that they came to me, so they reached out to me and they said, let's have a meeting, let's have a conversation, looking at the work that we do. They're very interested in terms of we're building models that represent neuro inclusion. And also being as a founder of Black Origin, it's like, well, we're looking at a very different perspective where our approach is building individual AI models to replicate different profiles of people. So we're building individual models that are meant to represent not just communities of people, but as close to the most divergent profiles as possible. And if those models don't represent the user or element of society, then it creates another AI and it trains it to say, right, you need to learn about this particular type of profile. So it's becoming more divergent. So what you're finding is that with the mention of hallucinations happen because there's very limited data sets, all within one model. In the models that we're building, and because our models are agentic, so multi-AI, what we're saying is, well, when you're actually generating a result, rather than look at a single model, look at a whole community, a neural network of different models that represent society.
Is that like saying to the community here, what's better, Nigerian jollof or Ghanaian jollof? It's going to go and ask all the audience. Instead of just going, yeah, Nigerian's the best, it's going to go and ask all the audience. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
It would come up, say, it's based on perspective. So it will give different perspectives, but then what we're building is there's a judging panel. So different perspectives will come up, and then the judging panel analyst will say, well, can we qualify this perspective? And it will have a conversation with itself, and it will give the output based on a blend of all those different perspectives that is suited to the user.
Okay, so let me go again. So that's basically, instead of it going to someone and asking which jollof is better, Nigerian or Ghanaian, right? But it's asking, has this guy even eaten Nigerian jollof?
Exactly. And this is the whole
my guy's
thing.
commenting on it, but he hasn't even eaten it.
And it's all about perspective. So it's about determining that intent. So once that intent has been declared, and you can build the parameters that represent the profile of the user, then it's all subjective based on the information you provide. So this is where the LLMs that we're building is the case of it's completely personalized. In fact, it's what we call hyper personalized. So whatever information you get from it, it's built on what you're actually interested in, what represents you, rather than a generic response.
Nice. Okay, so for the people, where can they find you?
Katrina Young Consulting and Aggregator Digital. Thank you.
Nice.
You can find me everywhere as Nomadic Liah. I'm also an artist, so my artist name is Nomadic Liah.
How do you spell that?
Nomadic, LIBAAX.
How do you spell nomadic?
NOMADIC.
Okay.
You can Google me. You can put me in your ChatGPT, and that works. I actually tried the other day. I was like, oh wow, that's who I am. But if you find me on X or Instagram, it's Skeps, SKEPZ. It's also in the back of my shirt. So
Come on, United.
there.
UNITED.
So you can find me at Skeps, or you can find my company at Full Spectrum. So FULLSPEKTRUM, the Full Spectrum.
Thank you very much.